We're doing a review of these inexpensive Amazon Belleza Suprema. These are available in Canada, but there are comparison brands in the United States at the links below.
It's color Christie.
In order to make this a proper review, I wanted to make sure that we picked apart the things that really matter when it comes to alcohol markers. Saturation, streakiness, comfort, portability, spreadability, meaning how easy is it to spread, how well a colorless blender works, how the markers actually blend together, and how nice the tips are.
Wow, this is great. I should subscribe.
So let's test out the streakability. Streakability, not sure if it's a word, but we're going to use it.
Why is she making up her own words?
So I'm just doing them side by side so you can see the streakability. So I actually did those backwards, but so streakiness should have been number 2, but it actually works out because saturation shows you how much it spreads and how it saturates the paper. And let's see at how much it spreads. I'm going to go straight up to the line so you can see the spreadability.
Wow, this video is so helpful. I should like it if I didn't already.
So you can see it spreads over the line a little bit there. Just like most alcohol markers, you will need to make sure that you're giving yourself a little bit of space. That's pretty common with alcohol markers because they do saturate really nicely. So let's talk about the comfort. They don't have any sort of like grip tab, but these markers are really thick. So although they don't have any sort of grippy, they are really nice. And because they're square, they're really nice to hold on to. The marker caps come off really nicely. They're not too hard, not too easy, so they're not going to fall off, but they're also not very hard to get off. For comfort, I'm going to give these a 8 out of 10. They are really comfortable, but there's no grip. Nice and thick though, so like when you're using, say you're using something like a gel pen, your hand kind of gets tired, but with alcohol markers, because how thick they spread and how thick the markers are, your hand doesn't really get tired because you can color fast. So I'm going to give them a 9 out of 10. I change it, 9 out of 10. These markers are nice and portable. They have a handle right here that's very durable, and it's really nice if you want to carry around. They are a little bit heavy, and you can hear that thud. But they have a handle, and if you were going somewhere that you needed to use these, they would be easy to pick up and move around. If you look on the inside, you can see that there's a really nice holder that holds them upright, and they're very easy to organize. They are nice and sturdy on the bottom, so they don't kind of like flop out on the bottom. Portability, I'm going to give them a 10.
Wow, I could take those anywhere.
So let's test the spreadability. And when I say spreadability, I just mean how fast you're able to... Ooh, got a little something stuck there. Yeah, so when I say spreadability, I just mean how fast can you spread this marker. Like how juicy it is and how fast can you spread it. That's pretty quick. You can fill a square pretty quickly. I'm going to give that a 9 out of 10. So now let's talk about the colorless blender. So a lot of people don't actually know how to use the colorless blender. I do have other videos about how to use it. But what I want to know about this colorless blender is how juicy is it? How well does it blend? And can it erase? So I've been using this marker for a while, and I want to see how nice. I just added some alcohol to it not that long ago, and it is starting to dry out a little bit already. So that's one thing I don't like about this marker, is that I don't feel like it lasted as long as it should have. So let's see how nice it blends. Let's try blending without the colorless blender and see how that goes.
Wow, she's like the Michelangelo of blending. Look at that.
I think that's a pretty good blend. I'm going to give this blend a 9 out of 10. And now I want to see how nice it erases. So because this has already dried up here, we will use this as an example. I do like how this marker erases when it's nice and juicy.
Stop saying the word juicy.
You have to be very gentle though, unless, because otherwise you're going to rip up the paper a little bit. This one erases pretty well. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 for erasing. So let's talk about the tips. These markers come with a fine tip and a broad tip, or also known as a chisel tip. I really like the chisel tip on these markers. They are quite thick and really nice to use. They spread really nicely, and it's very easy to go from that to that when you want to. The fine tip is also really nice when you're doing little details. I haven't had any problems with these tips. I think they are really nice. They have lasted. They haven't like frayed, or I've had these for, I want to say, about 6 months, and they haven't frayed, they haven't bent, they haven't soaked up any other colors. I really like these markers. I think for the price, they're a really great option. The only thing that could make these better is if they had a brush tip. So I'm going to give these a 9 out of 10, only because it's not a brush tip, and a brush tip is my favorite type. So I'm going to give these a 9 out of 10. So if I had to give these markers a grade, I would probably give them a 9 out of 10, especially because of the affordability. There's a lot of different colors. There's a lot of different shades of each color, and they saturate quite nicely given the price. And for somebody who's just starting out, or somebody who's a little more experienced but does a lot of coloring and doesn't want to spend a ton of money, these are a fantastic option. So definitely a 9 out of 10. If you like this video, make sure that you subscribe so that you can see all my reviews and anything that we're doing coloring related.